Hey guys, this is Roxum087. I got a neat little kit to show you guys today. This is a advanced airsoft S3F Solution Combat Slide Kit made for the Tokyo Marui and WE Glock 17 or any other copies of the system. And this is in a gunmetal black color. This is in a stealth gray color, which I'll talk about later on. And this kit is made in Japan. Actually comes with a box like this, which is really cool. And this retails for 1,200 to 1,400 Hong Kong dollars, or 1,500 Hong Kong dollars, depending on when and where you buy them. And that roughly translates to 150 plus US dollars. These kits are quite expensive. But right off the bat, you get a steel barrel. So unlike other kits that are priced roughly around the same, for example, like Nova slides, like Guns Modify slides, like detonator slides, right off the bat, this kit comes with a steel outer barrel. Now, Guns Modify slides, sometimes they come with a steel barrel, but they're normally not made very well. As you guys know, Guns Modify doesn't really do very well on the titanium coating, titanium nitride coating for their gold SAI barrels and for the silver SAI barrels. I have no idea what kind of coating they use, but it's a little bit strange. It actually comes off when you scratch it, which is sort of unfortunate. And this right off the bat, it comes with a steel S3F Solution barrel. So in case if you don't know why this kit is so special, S3F Solution, this company over here, this is a very famous company in the real steel world that makes aftermarket outer barrels for real steel Glocks. This company is actually so famous and so reputable that they are actually the company that makes the outer barrels for agency arms. All of their agency arms barrel, in reality, that's actually an S3F Solution barrel. All agency arms does is that they take an S3F Solution barrel, machine it out with all the agency logos, and then they call it an agency barrel. But in reality, it's an S3F Solution barrel, which is super cool. Like, I think an airsoft is sort of cool. It's basically the same way where in airsoft and SAI, we can sometimes have Barstow barrels or KKM precision barrels. This is an S3F Solution barrel. In fact, before I even told you guys that, you guys were probably already aware of who this company is because they're sort of in the trend, and they're quite famous for making outer barrels. They actually make it in many different colors. They actually make this in the real steel world. They actually have a black. This is the silver, and there's also a titanium gold version. But in airsoft, we only have the silver version for now. So, enough about that. Let's actually go over the kit now. So here's everything that comes with the kit. It comes with a aluminum extractor. This is not made of steel. Some people say it's steel. It's not. It's aluminum. This is the steel outer barrel, which I talked about earlier, and their slide, which is made out of 6061 T6 aluminum, which there's no way for me to confirm that, but that's what they advertise it as. And this slide is actually very, very good looking. So right off the bat, when you take this out of the packaging, the very first thing you notice, there's actually two things that you notice. The very first thing is that all the serrations are super, super deep. They are a lot sharper than you think. They're much more distinctive compared to Guns Modify, much more distinctive than detonator slides. They're actually a lot deeper as well. The depthness of these markings are actually visible. They're pretty clear once you hold them in your hand. So they actually make the standard Glock serration so sharp that it actually bites into your finger a little bit better, just because of how deep they make it. And a special side effect that I didn't notice is that when you have an angle cut like this, when you have these Glock serrations over here, you actually make a lot of sharp points over here. So now that they make it a lot deeper, you can actually feel it through your gloves. So this is actually quite cool for a Glock slide. Like, these are just the regular serrations, but these look like enhanced Glock serrations, which look pretty cool in my personal opinion. You will also notice that the serrations that they make for the front is also very sharp. If you look at it very closely from this angle, you can see that it's actually very deep. they're actually slightly deeper than some slides that I've seen from Airsoft Masterpiece. They're just a little bit deeper, but it makes quite a visible difference. It's because you can clearly feel it. When you hold this in your hands, the first thing you detect, it's how sharp all these areas look. They are much sharper than I can ever show you on camera. They are really, really good looking. Especially this area over here. You can actually see how much has been relieved over here to reduce the weight of the slide. Right? The shadows sort of speak for themselves. And these serrations over here, they follow this arrow-looking serration on the top with a relief cut over here. And this relief cut is not like the SAI cuts. It's just a through and through cut. The edges are not beveled or anything like that. It's just a straight through cut. Nothing special. It doesn't really matter actually. It's just some people like to note that feature. As for the rear part, not entirely sure what they were thinking over here. These is just relief areas to make the slide lighter, I guess. I think in the real steel world, there's an RMR version of this. In Airsoft, there is no RMR version of this as of right now. So, for now, this is just what it looks like. But nevertheless, it's really cool looking. And the last thing I want to talk about in terms of the external feature, or actually the last two things, which is the angle cuts. So the angle cuts are only made over here and over here. They don't have any more other angle cuts, or other, I forget the other term for it. But basically, the SAI slides, normally they have the front areas, the sides, as well as the rear area. They always angle these cuts to reduce the weight of the slide. The S3F one, apparently, it's only supposed to have this side and this side relieved, which I actually think it looks a little bit better because it's a little bit more simple looking. It's not super fancy looking, but at the same time, it's sort of fancy. So that's I think it's not bad. It looks like a concealed carry Glock 17. That's sort of what it looks like when I look at it. This actually sort of reminds me of the same theme that Bowie Tactical does on their Glocks. It sort of reminds me of that, sorta. And as you can see, this is the logo for the S3F Solution. You can tell it's very deep. It's very, very deep. You can actually feel the edges on the logo as well. And this actually brings me to my next part, which is, I think this part is probably the most important part in this kit. And probably the only reason why you're interested in this kit is this barrel. So the engraving is done really deep, as you would expect. I mean, you have to do this engraving properly if you want it to look good. Very distinctive. Which is actually a little bit strange, is because you can actually feel how deep this marking is. Very cool looking. And for the machining on this front tubular part, if you look super closely, I don't know if you can see this on camera. You can see the lathing marks on the barrel. You can still see them through the coating of the barrel. So this was actually probably lathed properly. You can tell. If you follow the reflection, you can partially see those markings. Those machine markings. It's meant to, I think they purposely did this to make this look as close to the S3F Solution barrel as they can. And this looks like a very accurate copy of that barrel. The only thing that's not accurate is that this area looks a little bit different on the real steel one. It doesn't look like this, but otherwise, it's more or less a perfect copy. And also, the real one also has proper fluting like this. They have fluting on the top, bottom, as well as on the left and right side. That's what the fluting looks like. Very clean and very deep. It's actually a little bit more distinctive than the SAI ones that we see from Guns Modify. Like, clearly, it's a lot deeper. Right? So this is a very cool looking outer barrel. And interestingly, the coating is also made just as smooth as the aluminum slide. I'm told that this is some sort of Teflon coating, and this actually enhances the smoothness between the outer barrel and the slide and makes it move a little bit smoother. Which brings me to my next super important point, and this is something that all of you Airsoft Glock fans, you guys will all appreciate. In fact, you might have been able to see this before. before I even say anything about it. If you look very closely, all the corners that you would normally modify to make the barrel move smoother, they have all been modified for you. All the slant areas have been enhanced, so you won't have the barrel tilt issue. They also enhanced the barrel drop time. So this actually drops faster, which basically means that your barrel will actually move smoother and it will unlock from the slide like this. It will unlock faster. So this is a very neat little feature. Almost no airsoft Glock slide kits come like this. In fact, almost all of them require fitment. Guns Modify definitely requires fitment, otherwise your slide will always feel a little bit gritty. Nova slide kits, you have to do it. It's not a choice. Detonator, sometimes you have to do it, but Detonator is mostly a drop and fit. PGC is you don't need to modify. Shooter's Design, you have to modify. So the fact that someone actually does all this modification for you before you even install the outer barrel is a big plus. You can tell that all these slopes have been enhanced, and they also crown that area to reduce the barrel tilt. So basically when the barrel starts sitting at the back, it doesn't have to be fixed in this position. It can actually move a little bit, and that's what allows the slide to move smoothly when it goes back into battery. That's why you modify those areas. If you don't modify those areas, your Glock can either jam or it will slow down. This also applies to the opposite side of the outer barrel. This area controls the initial drop time. The initial drop time is this. Only associated with this. The dropping of this, moving the position of the outer barrel moving downwards. So that controls that. It already makes that smoother. And you can actually see this for yourself on the S3F slide that I already built. If you look very closely, it unlocks very early. It's very early. You can see the outer barrel, it bobs up and down perfectly. No modifications whatsoever. You notice it also rises perfectly by itself. It is a very smooth movement. You can clearly see this on camera. This has never been modified. You can actually see how dirty this is. It has never once been modified. And the barrel timing is perfect. It's actually even smoother than a stock Glock. So that's a big enhancement right off the get-go. So now let's go over the features of the slide. The special internal notes and fitment notes on the slide is because I already talked about all that stuff for the outer barrel already. I hope you guys understand this. If you guys don't understand what I talked about for this, I did make a video teaching people how to solve the barrel tilt issue, which is an issue that plagues almost every other Glock slide kit out there, and it will actually affect the smoothness of your Glock. It will also affect the reliability of your Glock. So if you haven't watched that video, I'll try to leave a link somewhere to teach you guys what that is. But anyways, just know that this barrel has none of those problems. It's because, surprisingly, it has been modified already out of the box. So anyways, let's go over the slide now. So for the slide, all blowback housing units will fit in here. Tokyo Marui, aka AIP, Predator, Guns Modify zero blowback housing unit, my blowback housing unit, every single blowback housing unit, UAC, they will all fit into this slide, no modifications required. And other extra notes that I'll give you is that when you install the extractor, it is flush, meaning on certain slides, certain aftermarket slides that you see out there, when you install the extractor, sometimes it sticks out. And because it sticks out, when you install your blowback housing unit, it will sometimes get caught in that extractor as you push the blowback housing unit in. And what people do is that sometimes they modify the extractor. This one is completely flush. You don't have to modify anything. You will also note that this extractor, once you install it, believe it or not, this is what it looks like. Can you see that it actually sticks out a little bit? So it actually looks like a legit extractor. It actually looks pretty good, to tell the truth. It doesn't stick out too much, but it looks the part. It actually looks pretty nice. Right? You can clearly see that it looks like a proper extractor. And here is the most important part. Now this is probably the part that will make many of you guys happy. So when it comes to airsoft Glocks, we've always had a problem with aftermarket slides being loose. Whenever you have an aftermarket slide that's loose, what will happen is that it will dramatically affect the accuracy of the pistol. It will also dramatically affect how the slide cycles. So if you have a slide that's too loose, what will happen is that you'll notice that you can't do too much to make this super fast. And the reason why that is because if you decide to make a loose slide super fast, right off the bat, you cannot modify the cocking point. And for a airsoft Glock, the first thing you have to modify is the cocking point. That's the only way to eliminate a very well-known problem in the airsoft Glock, which is called the rotor issue. This is what the rotor issue looks like. Without you modifying the cocking point, you will always have this issue. In fact, this is something that many of you guys on my YouTube channel have asked me to teach you guys. For any loose slide, you can never ever modify the cocking point, and the only reason why is because if you modify too much, what will happen is that since the slide can move up and down and side to side, the cocking point is no longer as crisp or as distinctive as it normally is. And therefore, when you run these kinds of slides, you cannot do that modification. It's because you'll just completely mess up the reliability of the Glock. The Glock is always cocks the hammer. If you modify that, you will risk losing that cocking of the hammer. And when that happens, your gun will go full auto. That's the reason why when people buy loose slides, sometimes a problem that may occur is that sometimes the hammer will not lock. In fact, some of you guys have already had this problem for RMR Glocks. The most popular RMR Glock available is made by Guns Modify. The RWA ones are also OEM'd by Guns Modify, but RWA enhanced this a little bit with their own system and all that stuff. They also changed a little bit of the railings, which I just recently realized. RWA or / Guns Modify and PTS, with all these RMR slides, they always have a problem where if you use it too much over time, you will lose the cocking point. It's because all of them are loose. This is how bad this problem is for airsoft. We actually have, this problem is so problematic that it just messes up a lot of things. It's bad enough that it has to have up and down play, it also has side to side play. So here's the big kicker for you guys. When it comes to this slide, there's zero play. Just like PGC, just like Shooter's Design. Shooter's Design and PGC are probably the most well-known Glock slides for having pretty much zero tolerance, meaning they don't wobble at all unless you use them for an extended period of time, and all you have to do is just swap out a chassis. So check this out. So you see the sound right now that's coming from it? It's just from the Glock frame. Okay, and I'm now going to install this. That's not coming from the slide. This is from the frame. If you install the slide, there is zero rattling noise. Because there is zero side-to-side play, and there's zero up and down play. There is no play at the front either. There is none. Absolutely no play at all. In fact, this slide is tight. And you can tell because I can do this, and the slide won't move. So what does this mean for you? It means you can hand fit it. And it's already at the point where you can almost do no fitment at all and it'll work. So this is a very, very important thing to note. It has been years since a Glock slide I've come up with these kinds of features. Right off the bat, if you have a slide like this, guess what? You can modify the cocking point. You can now do the smoothness mod to this to eliminate the rotor issue. In fact, this is exactly what I did to this. So it's using in this particular situation, my slide that I already built, this is using a custom blow-back housing unit that I made. This blow-back housing unit is made by me. So this is not a fair example, but this is the kind of effect that you can expect to have. So basically, this is the smoothness mod. Because the slide is tight, because there's no up and down play, there's no weird play, you can do this kind of mod and your slide will be this smooth. Notice there is no rotor issue. It almost feels like a zero hammer. Now, albeit this is with my own blow-back housing unit. I'm now going to show you what this feels like with a blow-back housing unit that you can modify yourself, and I will teach you how to do that. So I'm using my parts is not exactly fair, and I'm very well aware of that, but the whole entire reason why I'm showing you guys this is to emphasize a very, very important point for slides, is that the tight tolerance opens up a lot of possibilities for modifying your Glock. Right off the bat, it already improves accuracy. The second thing is that you can do this mod. So let me show you exactly what that mod looks like. So I'm just going to keep, this is my blow-back housing unit, I'm just going to put them to the side. This is not UAC. You can tell it's not UAC because it doesn't have an extra hole. This is mine. This is a AKA blow-back housing unit that I already modified with a cocking point. Now, this blow-back housing unit was not originally modified for this slide. This blow-back housing unit was modified for a PGC slide with the cocking point modified. So all I did was that I reduced where the slope starts. I pushed it further back, and you'll notice the slope is much smaller. You can tell how small that slope is. However, do you notice that the back area I did not modify? This back area is essential to lock the hammer as early as it can possibly be. You cannot modify that back area. You can only modify this front area. In fact, I tried not to touch this backside area at all. This is what allows the Glock to be very smooth after you modify it this way. You just basically change the slope to be a little bit more slopier and reduce this top surface area over here. And I will actually compare this to a stock blow-back housing unit. Notice the astronomical difference in terms of, look at that area. My modified blow-back housing unit doesn't even have that squared area on top anymore. It is now a slope. And the slope on my blow-back housing unit, on my modified one, starts later instead of this one that starts earlier. This is the secret to how to get your Glock smooth. That's my secret. But in reality, everyone in Hong Kong already sort of knows this. Like, this is not something new, to tell the truth. A lot of people have been doing this way before me. In fact, if you use a high kappa, you're probably well aware of this modification already. A high kappa, if you choose to run it with slide lock, and you have the blow-back housing unit go over the hammer, that's that. That's the exact same modification, but on a Glock. Exactly the same thing. And this is what's going to happen. Install this blow-back housing unit. I'm not going to install the nozzle, not bothered. Oh, you know what? I should. Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to do it in front of you guys right now because I think it's quite important. Because I need to assemble some parts, so I need to do this anyways. So this O-ring is specifically for my nozzle. I'm using an MAC nozzle. This is the AKA piston and AKA blowout housing unit. Stop the nozzle back. Be gentle with your nozzle, don't be so rough with it. Install your nozzle spring. S3F slide. Push it in. Now here's going to be the surprising part for you guys. Now, because I modified this blowout housing unit by hand, like because I know how to do this modification so well, this Glock will actually be smoother on this AKA blowout housing unit. Is because I modified this blowout housing unit to a very precise point. Sorry. So this is what I mean by a hand fit Glock. It's because I do everything very carefully and very precisely. So check this out. This is probably going to be a big shocker because can you see the slide doesn't even stop anywhere near. There's nothing there. It's like there's a zero hammer. Is because of that area that I modified. That's the secret. Now, in case you Glock experts are going to be suspicious of me modifying the cocking point too much, check this out. So if I rack the slide to the second serration, it's already cocked. So the reliability of the cocking point has not changed. I only changed how well it engages with the rotor to eliminate the rotor issue. And now there's zero resistance. You will notice that it just completely glides over. There is nothing there. So that's the secret. That's the reason why you have a tight slide. If you have a loose slide, you can't do this mod. It's just because you lose the reliability of the cocking. The reliability of the cocking goes right out the window the second you get a loose slide. This solves all of it. Just because it's tight. Now, here's the bad part. If you have to make a big criticism, is because this slide is semi-tight right off the bat, you might have to wear this out a little bit. I recommend you to break in the gun by firing it a lot. Just fire it a lot at home to break it in. There's another option that you can do, which is that you can take the chassis out and then manually fit it by hand. That way you can make this even smoother and even more perfect tight fitting, which is actually something that I neglected to do. So if you look at the rear of my silver one, there is no play at the rear, but there's play at the front. It's because I modified it a bit too much. It's because, can you see, I sanded down this area. You can tell I modified it. I did a bit too much. So, but nevertheless, you get the point. You can actually just do all of this yourself at home. It's very easy to do, and again, it gives you far more advantages than any other Glock slide in existence. Keep in mind, there's actually quite a lot of things that's all lined up for you. So the only thing that you have to do when you assemble this is, if you want to do some of the hand fitment, you can do it yourself, or you can work it out by moving the slide a lot. As you saw, it needs a bit of work, but not too much. The point is that there's no tolerance. There's no play, right? That in itself speaks, tells you everything that you need to know about the slide. Is that the fitment, like, even though right now it doesn't exactly move super smooth because it's basically meant to be eventually perfectly fit like a PGC. Even PGC slides don't run immediately on the first day you install it. But this is basically a PGC slide. This is basically the same thing, more or less. A PGC slide also does this, by the way. It also moves, but it's tight. And that's why you like it, right? It's because it's more or less... In fact, PGC slides also accept pretty much all blow-by housing units, pretty much. So yeah, just think about it. I mean, this is pretty neat. And just as another bonus heads up, and I swear this is the last part, can you see that the slide is relieved on the outer barrel area? So this front portion, there's a slope, and this area is relieved. Compared to a normal Glock slide. So can you tell that this area is just a flat 90 degree, contacting the 90 degree? This has a curved area. And this basically means less friction, less contact, so therefore it takes off really smoothly. I mean, you can clearly tell that I like the slide kit a lot. It's just because this kind of fitment is really, really good. Like, I think this is more or less the best you can buy for now. I struggle to come up with anything critical to say about this, is because it basically solves a lot of things in one go, pretty much. And again, this is the condition of the outer barrel after you use it. I guess you can say there's a bit of scratches on the outer barrel. Is that a scratch? What is that? Oh, that's just dirt. See? Just pours out. You can still see that the light completely reflects off of it. Can you even see any? There's no scratches that you can visibly see. I can see a tiny little bit, but it's very difficult to spot. That's the advanced S3F Solution Slide. I'm pretty sure you'll find it's very difficult to beat. Now, magazine. You know what? You guys can see some gameplay videos of this. I'm not going to fire my gun right now. It's actually because it's very late at night, but you guys get the point. So, anyways, this is a very long video. Sorry to make it this long, but I wanted to go over all the fitment points. Is because it's actually way too difficult for me to cover that in a separate video. So I decided to make a big bundle video for you guys. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys enjoy me putting out this kind of information for you guys. It's because I do try to be as informational as I can so that you guys don't have to do as much fitment work when you guys get your kits. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please feel free to subscribe. And I also got a Facebook page that you can follow me on, in which I'll leave a link in the description box below. Peace, guys. Happy shooting, and hope you enjoy your kit.